Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Wednesday the 17th of April. So I'm looking at the pound dollar here first. Well, let's do that for a change. In fact, the pound dollar, well, it yesterday finally broke slightly out of this sort of little rising trend there, and it's broken down a little bit. Looking a bit softer, and well, I still wonder if it's got potentially more downside. I was looking at the retail sentiment of traders, and there's about 71% are sitting there long at the moment, and well, I suppose that's inevitable when it's been in a downward trend here on the 4-hourly, but to me it looks like it could continue to roll in this pattern at the moment. It's got lower highs, lower lows in there, and it's again, as with yesterday, looks like it's got potential to roll over. A choppy old day yesterday for most of the time, although it eventually broke down when talks apparently broke down on Brexit. So at the moment it's, as I say, looking weak for me. Where to today? Well, maybe back down towards the Asian session lows there, maybe even down to the S1 on the low side. What would spoil this? Maybe if it starts breaking higher above the 200 and the 34 moving average. If it breaks above that area, well, maybe it's going to get have a bit more of a bounce. Euro dollar. Euro. For some reason, I know there's been a lot of Chinese data out through the Asian session, and that may well be part of the reason it's pushed the euro up here at the moment. But yesterday it put into quite a nice little pattern there, and it looks like it's still got potential to, well, if it breaks that trend line that I've drawn on here, a much better chance of rolling. So on that perspective, it looks quite weak. At lower highs, lower lows. It may just want to go back up and test these prior highs here, or push through into the 4-hourly 500 towards that area, the weekly R1. It's got potential, but really, I'm looking at a trend line on the dailies. You could be looking at a 50 moving average here on the 4-hourlies. If it breaks that sort of area, it's really confirming potentially more downside. Coming down to the 60-minute then. You see that sort of rally it's been there for about 20 pips or so. It's not a massive rally, but that's occurred through the Asian session. The one thing here is, I mean, yesterday there was a lot of speakers coming out and saying how bad things are in Europe, and it never really sold off massively. It took, I mean, I think people realise it's where it is, and it's probably priced in a bit now. We'll see, but I am just seeing if this breaks down. As I said, there's a few areas. If it breaks, obviously this current area of lows on the monthly pivot there, it could turn a bit more bearish. But for now, well, it's doing what it's doing here. I still wonder if it will come back down this morning at some point. Can't really get too bullish on a currency that's running as it is, and well, yeah, perhaps should be technically bullish to a degree at the moment. Best left alone sometimes, but there we are. Euro, dollar yen. So where to with this? Well, look, it's not going anywhere at the moment. It's chopping around in sort of very small movement, and again, as we saw some movement through the Asian session there with the Chinese data out. The GDP came in slightly better than expected, and well, flows obviously changing around, but not significantly enough to cause too much here. Although when you come down to the 60-minute time frame, it looks like well, on a chart that's a bit more sort of 30-minute chart, it looks like it had massive moves there, but very little. If anything, well, it might have just taken those highs out, stops above there, and could be rolling over a little bit here. We'll see. It's still got that weekly pivot below to attack if it's going to start selling off. But for the last 3 days, as I said, it's the last 2 days rather, and today's the third, it's barely done anything. Aussie dollar, well, Aussie dollar then we're pitched up through the Asian session again, maybe benefiting from a bit more of joy from China. It's coming off those highs at the moment a little bit. Pitched up quite strongly there at on the midnight candle, but on that news, I do wonder if this is going to pull back a bit. Again, I'm sort of looking at this. I'm looking at like the euro. I have, to be fair, put a little swing short on the euro in. So I've got a bit of a swing bias, but it's not a massive position. It's just a tester now on this Aussie dollar. Almost could be tempted to do the same, but not yet. It's not. It needs to show something more of a breakdown on this. But could be getting a bit more bearish on that. Okay. Now Aussie dollar, Canadian dollar. Again, just consolidating here, like a lot of these markets, and you're seeing it. We're seeing it with the yen. We're seeing it with Canadian dollar. We've seen a slight increase with the a couple of markets there, but here it looks soft, and well, maybe we'll see this roll to the downside. It's I say almost long overdue, but for now, actually, it's done the daily pivot, done the S1. Perhaps that's as far as it's going to go. Maybe that too will reverse a little bit through the London European sessions. Not that convincing. Daily's a little bit more. It's just choppy, isn't it? Okay. Let's see, daily there. One other thing, New Zealand dollar. I thought I'd just throw this in because it had further bad news there, and through the Asian session, it's picked up tremendously well. Bearing in mind they're talking about interest rate cuts, perhaps as early as May. So it's holding in there. But there we go. It's probably got more downside there as well. It's maybe just well, often we see the news and then a bit of a retrace afterwards, and that's what we're seeing back at the moment. But it does look like in the next change to the interest rates will be to the downside for the New Zealand dollar. Okay, that's pretty much it for the day. News-wise today, we do have some, not a lot, but we do have some. This morning we've got UK inflation, which is expected to come out. Well, it's due out at 9:30, coming in at 2%. It's expected to, which is the target level for inflation. And then at 1:30 we've got a bit of Canadian inflation, so CPI at 1:30. So a bit of volatility expected around there. 2 p.m. we've got Bank of England Carney speaking, but he's speaking in the about the the financial system conference. Network for Growing the Financial System conference in Paris. There we are. So I don't think that'll be too much of a hit on the markets. That's pretty much it for me. Hope you have a great day. Bye for now.